for subprimes because we understood that a lot of our members didn't have perfect credit, so we didn't ever go in saying we want you to stop doing subprime lending. We wanted you to stop being abusive about subprime lending, making up and stated income. We represent, you know, waitresses and bartenders and others and taxi cab drivers who are going to have tipped income that is often stated income. So we understood that as well, but there's no way you could have a portfolio with, you know, be doing billions of dollars of loans literally a month, as New Century was, and have more than half of them stated income. That's just a neon light that says somebody in the brokerage community is just lying to you like a rug. And they were still trying to pretend that they had computer, you know, algorithms and whatever that were, you know, they were, and of course they were bankrupt within 6 months. They couldn't hardly sign the agreement and go under. So we could see it happening when all of a sudden, for the first time, our members who we got into these houses were paying credit cards off before mortgages. When we first started moving in housing in the 80s and 90s, you know, Citigroup or whatever place we had an agreement with, you know, they had to keep our agreements in good shape because the repayment rate was higher than any other income grouping loan portfolio they had, because our members were so excited to own a house, they were paying off those loans. That was first. And all of a sudden we started finding out 2006, 2007, early 2008, our members were delaying paying mortgages to pay car payments and credit, and so you knew there was trouble, but they weren't listening to us. But then the banks, you know, you have ghost banks now, and they needed to write off huge amounts of those mortgages back to market, and that's what they still to this day. And this has been the single largest, in my view, failure domestically of the Obama administration, is not actually muscling in on the banks, particularly with the financing it provided to correctly state what the value of mortgages are, which will allow people to maintain those houses. So you have thousands of people we're working with in Phoenix even now who are in the same house they bought during that crisis. They're just have lost all their equity and they're paying rent. Can't be sold. I mean, a house that they had a 250 or 300 and quarter loan on is now worth 120. So the bank doesn't want to put it down to 120. It doesn't want to sell it at 120. I mean, I think until the administration, we're not going to be able to fully get out of this recession. And that's not just about jobs until you can settle the housing market, and that's just not being done. So yeah, I'm very interested in those issues. I think student loans are a huge problem for middle class, moderate income families.
Yes, my son's having to pay his own because I'm not in a position, but that way I feel he'll also finish school. And I'm not being mean, it's just being realistic.
Well, I mean, I think that's the way life is. I mean, but you know, there's over $1 trillion in student loan debt now, and you know, people are having to make life decisions about whether, you know, how they repay student loans, and that's not the way you want people to have to make decisions in their lives. It's just based on a debt they took on at 18 years old, which is really too young to hardly, you know what you're doing. So yeah, you know, we spent a lot of time on those issues and landlord-tenant issues and others. But clearly, without an organization is collective activity. It's the base. We don't have that base in the U.S. now.
Are you wanting to get it back?
I think desperately we need low to moderate income people to be organized. It's just it's a timing, resource question, a number of other things.
To kind of piggyback on that particular point, you know, do you think there is an advantage to starting again to try to federate on some sort of national basis the various formerly known as ACORN groups that are out there, and some of the groups in some of the other states that have similar aims
I think
and
the
ambitions?
second, probably. I mean, you know, it's an excellent question, and you know, part of the problem I have as an organizer all these years is I believe in only organized telling the truth. So I'm not going to tell you I don't think about it. I think about it all the time. I think practically speaking, it's something that requires time. You can see now that we're 4 years past almost, at least past when I left, and you know, we're going to be 2 years past ACORN having to pull up the stakes. Finally, there's more of a recognition that ACORN was not a perfect organization. Let me tell you, I ran a huge operation. I was not a perfect you know, administrator in any way either. But we still were a pretty good distance over second place. And I do think there's a demand and interest of people to federate, and I think it's more likely first around issues and campaigns. So I think if I said, or if anybody said, here, we have a good idea, let's amalgamate into one big organization like Acorn, I think everybody'd be running for the door.
Right.
You know,
It's
so
too risky right now.
yeah, so I don't think you can do that, and a lot of people are still turtled up, you know. They don't want their heads to be too far ahead of that shell because of, you know, their own instability of resources and whatever. But I think, so my view is campaign-based. I mean, we're talking to more and more people about, I think, a great campaign around the digital divide, around forcing Comcast and Time Warner, exactly, and Cox Cable to have to come in and provide what they promised to the FCC to provide.
What FCC?
Well, you know,
That's a whole other issue,
yeah,
really.
That's right. But that's what we're pressing to find out, Rick, is that the FCC, Comcast bought NBC Universal, and as a condition of that purchase, they agreed to the FCC that they would provide a $9.95 per month package for low-income families to give them internet access and a $150 computer that they would somehow finance. Well, that was easy to say because they didn't do it. So I actually missed the first round of when the FCC order came out, and only realized it when the FCC was beating their chest saying, hey, we just voluntarily, which is the Obama way, we voluntarily got Cox Cable and Time Warner to agree this spring 2012, they're going to copy the Comcast program. I said, God, well, I've been sleeping at the switch. I missed the. So I got on the internet that morning. I'm looking at the Comcast program, and I look, and where our union has members, Shreveport, Little Rock, and Houston are all Comcast cities. So I'm on the phone by the time I go into the office. Who's getting this? I mean, are our members getting this? And we represented Head Start workers in all three of those cities, 2 of them under contract. They say, you know, Head Start, automatic. Are we giving them out, or our workers getting? Well, of course. The whole city of Philadelphia, less than 500 they now. We forced them to admit that.
150,000
Yeah,
qualified.
that's right. And 500,000 qualified in Houston and less than 2,000. So the truth is, and we've now filed some 20 or 30 complaints to the FCC that it's basically, you know, truth in advertising complaints. This is a marketing program for them. They did 2,000 brochures. They did no effort other than whining and dining local political officials to actually deliver internet access. So I think that kind of campaign lets you talk to a lot of organizations, a lot of cities about that interest. And there are other campaigns. This campaign that is being led here in Pittsburgh around how to deal with the EPA requirements on compliance around wastewater and drainage and all those kinds of things, I think is you know, there's 700 communities around the country in similar situations. It's a real opportunity to look and see what do you do.
So, in case you guys don't know, a little quick overview of that is.
Speak up.
A little quick overview of that is it's called the Clean Rivers Campaign, and it's being put. About 6 organizations have come together. Barney Osler from Pittsburgh United is sort of helping the campaign get off the ground and get going using his organizational strength. And Alcosan, Pittsburgh, our area has been ordered by the EPA to fix our stormwater runoff problem. Because every time it rains, even a small amount, the stormwater gets pushed into the sewage system, which is combined. And so what happens is, basically, the sewage that's in the sewer overflows gets pushed by the rainwater that's rushing into the system into the rivers. And so that's why you see all those little signs along the river. Any of you ever go out on the river? See all the little signs by the storm sewers that say poison water or something? That's why. And so we have to fix that. And every water bill will go up about $1,000 a year. And their idea at Alcosan is to put these big, huge pipes underneath the river, and I mean right in the bedrock under the river. So you'd have it under the Mon, and you'd have it under the Ohio, and you'd have it under the Allegheny, all running into Alcosan. And then these pipes would be like 20 feet tall and around. If you can imagine the size of a pipe, it's like twice.
Who's going to pay